Unless you've been living under a rock, you'll know that TBC is coming again on the Anniversary servers, likely at the end of this year. Recently I made a video about it which led to a lot of debates regarding TBC as a whole and what changes could be made to cement it as the greatest expansion of all time. During this time I have created a poll and taken tons of your feedback, so today we will find out what changes should we bring to TBC. Now before we start, I'd like to highlight something Ian said recently when talking about being a developer at Blizzard. He said, with a diverse community, sometimes it's literally impossible to get it right for everyone, and this definitely applies here, so bear that in mind. At the time of recording this video, the poll is currently at 74% of you wanting to see changes in TBC. So let's break down the most requested changes. One of the biggest complaints I've read so far about TBC is the flying mounts, specifically for the impact it has on WoW PvP. Rezo World says no flying, like literally that's the only thing he wants. Louis said his biggest gripe with TBC was the introduction of flying mounts, and Lazarus says flying mounts killing WoW PvP is a big issue for him. And then Igersly773 says all is good, but flying mounts no. So you can see here flying mounts have a lot of hate, and I remember being in exactly the same boat back in the day. Well, PvP was one of my favorite things to do as a kid, and I remember thinking, damn, this sucks, as people would just fly around and avoid PvP altogether. But I don't think it's the most game-breaking feature, and I'm 100% confident Blizzard would not outright remove flying mounts. It's just not going to happen. Could they implement something to fix the WoW PvP side of things though? It's unlikely, but it's definitely possible. Reality5040 had a really interesting idea about only being able to mount up at Flight Masters, meaning if you dismounted out in the world, you would have to go and find a Flight Master so you could mount up again. Kind of like a stable for your mounts. And while in theory this is a decent idea, and I know there was some love for it in the comments, I don't see this ever happening. Because one, there are far too many areas in TBC which you need a flying mount to get to and to get out of, so being dismounted, you're effectively stuck. The majority of people would end up hating this, and it would take a lot of resources to implement, so I just don't see it happening. The only possible change I could see regarding flying would be that of a debuff, similar to the bounty debuff in retail. If you're unfamiliar, currently in retail, after you have killed a certain amount of players, you end up with a debuff which disables your flying mount altogether. The only way to get rid of the debuff is if you die or you get to a sanctuary city. And while I don't think we should get a replicated exact copy, some kind of debuff disabling flying for a certain amount of time could be a semi-fix. This would please all the PvP enjoyers, while people not interested in PvP could just use their flying mount as usual. So out of everything, I think this is the only kind of idea Blizzard would consider. What do you think though? Let me know in the comments. Another hot debated topic is heroism or bloodlust and whether it should affect the whole raid. Mr. Almeida would like raid-wide heroism with a cooldown. Pippo Bimbo would also like raid-wide buffs including totems. Artavian2489 also mentions about not having to worry about needing 5+ shamans per raid. If you didn't know, currently in TBC, shamans, lust or heroism is only party wide and it has no debuff. This leads to sweat stacking shamans and swapping them in and out of parties mid-fight to provide your pumpers with 100% heroism uptime. In my opinion, this is a terrible design and players are punished for not taking advantage of it. Especially when you think of logs and passes, not being in a heroism group basically means you can't compete. While I understand this makes shamans so popular in TBC and get a raid spot, I feel like when this was originally designed, players were different. And for modern day players, this needs to be raid wide with a sated debuff, meaning you can only benefit once. So this change is a no-brainer for me. Prunes the Druid agrees with me and gives excellent insight on this, making logs more competitive and not needing so many shamans. And to be honest, the only people against this are shamans themselves, and this is based on anxiety of losing raid spots. But let's be honest, shamans are still one of the best healers in the game, and I don't think the amount of shamans you take will be affected too badly. The most important thing is that you don't necessarily need to stack so many shamans, and you can still benefit from heroism or bloodlust. I'd also like the sated debuff and bloodlust to reset after each boss kill, similar to how they did it in WoW Classic. So yeah, honestly, I think this change should happen, and I can actually see it happening too. Let me know your thoughts down below if you agree or not. Mr. Almeida would like account-wide reputations and achievements to make it more alt-friendly, and the same as Peepo Bimbo. And I've seen this comment from a bunch of people all over the internet. Achievements are a pain, I'll admit, but reputations are a huge part of TBC, and it doesn't make it alt-friendly at all. I think account-wide achievements would be a big W, and it's definitely possible for Blizzard to consider. Account-wide reputations, however, I'm not convinced this would happen. To be honest, even having account-wide achievements is a bit of a stretch. It really comes down to how much Blizzard want to get involved with TBC changes, but they could also buff rewards for achievements and reputations, as they have done it in the past with WoW Classic. If you're unfamiliar, one change they made in WoW Classic was specific quest lines or daily quests awarded emblems of heroism, and I can see them doing exactly the same thing again, but with Badge of Justice. Having this would make those grinds on ults feel a little bit more satisfying and rewarding, as it could be seen as a way to catch up so you don't feel like it's a complete waste of time. You'll be rewarded for your time for doing the achievements with badges. I'm sure by now Blizzard is aware of the pain with achievements and reputations, and if they went ahead with the Badge of Justice edition, which I suspect they might, would you be satisfied? Is that enough? Let me know in the comments. Shadowfax77 wants boosts to be removed, and DoomRaven0 also agreed. Boosting is a bit like Marmite in WoW Classic, you either love it or you hate it. But you have to remember the majority of WoW players are in their 30s and 40s with jobs and a family. Time is precious, and if they can pay gold for boosts, they will. I'm not entirely against it, but at the same time, if they chose to ban it, I'd also be okay with that. But don't get it twisted, Blizzard will most likely be selling level 58 boosts for real money in pre-patch. If this happens, then I don't think banning boosts really matters. If you remember back in 2021, they made it so boosts were available, but only one per account. And all this meant was that the sweaty players were running 5+ accounts with tailoring cloth ults, etc. It's a big cash grab for Blizzard, and I can see them doing exactly the same thing again. Another thing I keep reading about is fresh servers, and while I can see the appeal, especially for those playing in SOD or not playing Anniversary at all, we've been here before with Wrath of the Lich King. I played on Feckle in Europe and it was so fun to begin with, but after a few months it had severe issues and population decline. People were locked to the servers and hating their life. You see, when a fresh server launches, it's like a shiny new toy. Everyone wants to come and play with it. But after some time, the novelty wears off and they all go back to their main servers. I can see the exact same thing happening again. So I would say no to fresh servers. I know that's going to upset some of you, but honestly, I still have PTSD as a guild leader on a fresh server, and I wouldn't want to inflict that pain on anyone. So trust me, fresh is not always best. Another important thing to talk about is the release pace and whether we should get era servers at the end of it. On the pace side, what we had in 2021 was about right. I would say from Karazhan to Sunwell being around 1 year would be absolutely perfect. There's no need to rush through it all, especially as we haven't played TBC in so long. According to my polls, there's roughly 24% of players entering TBC who have never played it before. So let them really enjoy the experience. This rush through everything mentality is not always the best. And after which, I can honestly see Wrath of the Lich King servers coming. We all know it's going to happen. The Anniversary servers going through the trilogy of the best 3 versions of WoW is a no-brainer. The real question is whether we should have TBC era servers, and I think we should. There's a bunch of people who are true TBC hardcore fans, and having the option to transfer or clone to a TBC era server would be great. The only issue I have is how many versions of WoW would we have? I'd hope to think that Blizzard are working on an absolutely amazing Classic Plus version of the game, which would be dropped after the Anniversary trilogy. If that's the case, then Classic Plus would be the new go-to game for Classic enjoyers, and any future seasonal content like SOD etc. should be based on TBC or Wrath of the Lich King. It definitely seems like Blizzard are catering to the classic WoW community, and everyone has their own favorite version. So I can see us having TBC and Wrath of the Lich King era servers eventually. And whether MOP will go on to WoD and Legion, it's very unclear at this time, but eventually that version of the game will end and those characters will most likely go off to retail. Let's not forget, anything MOP onwards isn't really classic. Despite them calling it classic, it's not. So guys, these are the most discussed changes to Classic, and here's the call to action now. If you really want to see changes, comment them down below, and after some time we will look at the best changes and present them to Blizzard. If you're vocal enough about it, then the chances are it's going to happen. So please give a comment down below, and if you see changes that you like, give them a like as well. Finally, I just want to give a huge shout out to my members. We've almost reached 100 members in the last 3 weeks, which is absolutely amazing. Honestly, I can't thank you guys enough. Memberships are the biggest way you can support my channel. They're available for $1.99 a month, and you can get so many preparation and gold guides in return, as well as supporting my channel. So if you really want to elevate your gameplay while supporting me at the same time, please consider becoming a member. All members are truly appreciated. I love you guys. Thanks for watching this video, guys, and have a lovely day.